In a world where January is supposed to be boring, one staple of the holidays refuses to end. The great deals at Verizon. The joy just keeps on coming. Right now, you can save on 4 new phones and 4 lines. Critics agree. It's the deal that keeps on giving. Come into Verizon and save on 4 new phones and 4 lines on unlimited welcome. Additional terms apply. See Verizon.com for details.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again. But if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now. You call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Scary, and if you're new here, my name is Will, and each week I narrate your real life paranormal experiences as well as some famous paranormal cases along the way. Before we get into this week's episode, as always, we need to say a special thank you to our new Patreon subscribers, who are Natalie Wooten, Jan Mack, Paul D, Mott G, Mitch, Brenda, Jax Eden James, Ellen, Tina Larson, Andrew W, and Santi T. Thank you so much for signing up to the show's Patreon, and if this is something you're interested in, you can find the link in this episode's show notes, or simply go to patreon.com/scaryaparanormalpodcast, where you can gain access to exclusive scary episodes as well as ad-free main episodes. But now, let's get into our next paranormal encounter. Our experience wasn't a particularly long experience, but it certainly was a strange one. My partner and I went through this back in October 2021. After the madness of the pandemic the year before, we decided on a whim to take our small children, who were 7 and 5 at the time, and our dog Wilbur away for half term. It was very last minute. We found a very cheap deal and ended up booking an old fisherman's cottage in a popular, very old fishing village on the south coast of Cornwall. The house was a 3-storey terraced cottage on this steep, narrow cobbled street. It had beautiful views across the estuary. On paper, it looked perfect. It was exactly the kind of bolt hole that we needed. It was only once we arrived that I realised how the house was laid out. The children's bedroom was down in the basement. The living room and kitchen were on the ground floor, straight off the street entrance. And our bedroom and bathroom were on the top floor, which had originally been a loft. I felt uneasy about that pretty much straight away. I didn't like the idea of being so far away from the kids at night. My partner assured me that it would be fine, and I tried to convince myself that they were right. We unpacked and settled in for our first evening. The children had their tea and were full of excitement, and eventually headed off to bed in their new basement room. Wilbur, our dog, who usually liked to stay close to them, lay peacefully beside their beds. My partner and I made supper. We lit the log burner and sat chatting on the sofa. It was around 9 p.m. The television was on low in the background and everything felt pretty calm, pretty normal. Then suddenly I heard footsteps. These footsteps were coming from the room above us, from the top floor, our bedroom. There was a very distinctive creak of floorboards, followed by heavy, deliberate footsteps. Loud enough that I knew I hadn't imagined them. It almost sounded like somebody wearing big hobnail boots walking slowly back and forth across the floor. I looked straight at my partner. They were already staring at the ceiling with a pretty tense face, and I asked them if they had heard it too, and they said yes. They went upstairs to check. There was no one there. It was only the four of us and the dog in the house. My partner even went outside onto the street to look around. The houses on either side of us appeared to be empty. They came back in and we sat down again, confused and pretty unsettled, trying to rationalise what we had heard. A few minutes later, it happened again. The same creaking floorboards, the same dull, heavy footsteps. This time, I remember we just stared at each other. Neither of us knew what to say or do. We eventually went to bed that night, but when we did, something else happened. Wilbur, who had been down in the basement bedroom with the children all evening, suddenly came hurtling up 2 flights of stairs. He crashed straight through our bedroom door, clearly unnerved by something. He was pretty jumpy and restless, completely unlike his usual calm self. Eventually, we fell back asleep. The following evening had been a pretty busy one, and I was feeling sleepy from the sea air. I decided to head up to bed early, and I left my partner and the dog downstairs watching TV. The children were already asleep in their beds below. At around 1 a.m, I was woken by the sound of the bedroom door opening, and my partner and the dog kind of stumbled in. My partner was as white as a sheet, and I asked them if they were okay. They told me that they had fallen asleep on the sofa and awoken suddenly feeling really, really cold. They said every hair on their body was standing on end. There was an ice cold prickling sensation on the back of their neck. And they had this overwhelming feeling that somebody was watching them from behind the sofa in the kitchen area. And at that same moment, the dog had started whining, jumped up and bolted up the stairs to our bedroom, just as he had the night before. My other half said that they felt deeply uncomfortable, and in their words, they just wanted to get the hell out of there. After checking on the children, who were fast asleep, they had come straight upstairs. I remember we laid in bed after that wide awake, trying to make sense of everything that had happened since we arrived. We searched for reasonable explanations. We didn't come to any. The following evening, I was upstairs on my own in the bedroom, doing a general tidy and packing things away. My partner, the kids and the dog were all downstairs in the living room. I had noticed that my smartwatch had run out of battery and I hadn't brought the charger with me, so I decided to pack it away so I wouldn't forget it. I rolled it up, walked over to the far end of the bedroom where my suitcase was sitting on a chair by the window. tucked the watch into the internal pocket flap of the suitcase lid and zipped it closed. I remember doing this very clearly. I then walked across the bedroom to the bathroom, which was next door on the landing. As I step out, I realise I had forgotten something in the bedroom. So I turned immediately on my heels and walked straight back in. My back had been turned for no more than 4 or 5 seconds. When I walked back into the room, straight away, I saw neatly laid across my pillow my smartwatch. The suitcase on the far side of the room was still zipped shut. In that moment, I felt completely perplexed. My immediate reaction was anger. I knew with absolute certainty that I had just put the watch inside my suitcase. I had not placed it on my pillow. I called downstairs and accused my partner and the kids of messing about moving it, and they assured me that they had all been downstairs the entire time, and I knew they hadn't come upstairs. They couldn't have got into the bedroom without passing me. I was the only one that was up there. I was angry because I knew something had happened and I couldn't explain it. Even now I can't. I'm 100% certain that I did not leave the watch on my pillow. And for me, that was the final straw. We decided to leave the next day. I had heard that with paranormal activity, especially poltergeist type activity, things can gradually ramp up over time, and I wasn't prepared to experience that. We somehow slept that night, though not well, and left the following morning, just 3 days into half term. I never left a review for the property. I did check the reviews afterwards several times, but there was never any mention of anything paranormal. The house is actually on the market now, and sometimes I wonder if anyone else experienced strange things there too. Thank you to Anonymous for sending in our first paranormal encounter. And now, let's get into our next. My paranormal experience is one of several that I've had during my life so far, and it's difficult to know which stories to choose, but I've opted for this one because I feel like I can offer some potential explanation for, or at least a theory that makes sense to me. But the truth is, I will never know for sure what it was that I experienced. My paternal grandparents lived in a suburb of Manchester in a semi-detached house in a council estate, which was built in the 1930s. My own parents had both been born and brought up in that area, but moved with myself and my older brother to the south of England when I was around 2 years old in 1969. We would travel back up north regularly to spend time with my grandparents. And when my brother and I reached school age, this was pretty much our regular summer holiday adventure. As young children in the early 1970s, when holidaying abroad wasn't even a thing for most people, the long drive up to Manchester and time spent with grandparents was really exciting. Even the journey up there was fun. I have memories of playing I Spy in the car and some strange game of cricket involving numbers on the number plates of passing cars. I'm not sure what kids today would make of it. Travelling all day in the car without mobile phones or iPads for company is wildly different to times back then, but we thought it was great. My grandfather was in poor health for as long as I can remember. He had unfortunately suffered from TB as a child, leaving him with lung damage, and as an adult he was a firefighter. This was back in the days where breathing apparatus were not yet invented, and when it did come along it was primitive and not particularly effective. Also, back then there were no smoke alarms, no regulations around what went into the construction of furniture or the use of asbestos or hazardous substances, so when fires occurred they often created an extremely toxic environment. Firefighters would be exposed to this for prolonged periods of time, and consequently the life expectancy of a firefighter in those days was just a few years beyond retirement. In addition to firefighting, my grandfather was a smoker. Plus he had an interest in photography and could often be found in his little dark room under the stairs, heated by a paraffin heater, with a cigarette on the go and no ventilation. Unsurprisingly, he developed lung cancer and several other respiratory conditions. He was incredibly strong though, and survived many years into his 70s, despite the state of his health. But all of this meant that as a child I can only remember him as a poorly man. When I visited, he generally was found in his armchair resting. Although he couldn't actively play with us, he was still a lot of fun and a much loved grandfather. When we visited our grandparents, my brother and I would stay in a spare bedroom at the back of the house. It was minimally furnished with a big, dark wood wardrobe and just 2 single beds. And in between the beds, there was an old armchair. One night, my brother and I were asleep in that room. I don't know how long I had been asleep or why I woke up. Nothing had disturbed me. There was no sound that I remember or movement in the room. But when I woke up, I saw a woman sitting in the armchair next to the bed. I don't know who she was, but oddly I wasn't afraid. She was looking at me and her expression was loving, kind, pretty much a gentle feeling. It is hard now as an adult to explain why I didn't feel concerned about her presence, but I guess as a 5-year-old, I didn't have any knowledge that would trigger uneasy feelings about the presence of what appeared to be just a nice lady. I just felt very calm looking at her. After a few seconds, I remember her extending her hand and held it outwards towards me, as if she was inviting me to hold it. I reached out to touch her hand, and as I did so, the image of her seemed to fade, and I remember my hand moving through hers, and then all of a sudden she was gone. I still, for some reason, didn't feel concerned. It was kind of dreamlike, but I know I was awake. I remember looking over to the other bed and I could see my brother asleep, and I could just make out the sound of the television on downstairs, as the adults in the house had not yet gone to bed. And then I just went back to sleep. In the morning, I gave it little thought and I didn't mention it to anyone. In my 5-year-old brain, it probably just wasn't of any importance. We carried on with our holiday with our grandparents, and a few days later we went home and life just carried on as normal. So, moving forward many years, and I am now in my 40s, Grandad had passed away many years before, and my grandma had come down south to live with my mum and dad, and she passed a few years later. The house had long since been sold, and it was many years since we had been there. I had all but forgotten about my nice lady in the bedroom, and then it came up in conversation with my dad, and he was talking about the lady that sometimes was seen and heard in my grandparents' house. He said that when we stayed there, he sometimes heard a rustling sound like the movement of long skirts, but that he had never seen anything. He went on to say that other members of the family, including my grandmother, had experienced the same. He said that my cousin Helen, who was the same age as me, had told Grandma when she was a child that she didn't want to stay in the spare bedroom because the lady kept her awake. So it appeared that the lady was heard by several people, but only ever seen by young children. I did ask my dad to tell me more about my grandparents and their family history, and he relayed the following story to me. He said my grandfather's mother had abandoned him as a very young child, which left him with his father, and she left to make a new life for herself in New Zealand. She didn't get to make a new life for herself, however, as she unfortunately was tragically killed in an accident at just 24 years old when her son, my granddad, would have still been a toddler. At this point, I decided to tell my dad about my experience of seeing the lady in Grandma's spare room, because if I'm honest, a thought was forming in my head. Was this apparition that was seen by myself and other young children my grandfather's mother? Could it be that she was there watching over him as his health deteriorated? Was she perhaps drawn to young children because of her abandonment of her own child? And I suggested this explanation to my dad, and he asked me if I could remember what the lady I saw that night looked like, and I told him I could. He told me to wait while he went off to dig out an old photograph which he had brought out to show me. And there, this old crumpled black and white photo showed an image of 3 women sitting lined up on a sofa in someone's front room. He asked me if she was in the photo, and I immediately recognised her and pointed her out. My dad confirmed that was my grandfather's mother, my great-grandmother. So for me, maybe my theory is correct and her spirit was there with my grandfather waiting for him to join her. I'll never know for sure, but it makes me feel that despite the hard times my grandfather experienced throughout his life, I think I know that he is at peace now. And thank you to Jan for sending in her paranormal experience. Don't forget, if you have your own paranormal experience that you'd like me to narrate on the show, you can send it to scaryaparanormalpodcast@gmail.com, and it just might get made into a future episode. Thank you so much for listening, and join me next time for another episode of Scary.
In a world where January is supposed to be boring, one staple of the holidays refuses to end. The great deals at Verizon. The joy just keeps on coming. Right now, you can save on 4 new phones and 4 lines. Critics agree it's the deal that keeps on giving. Come into Verizon and save on 4 new phones and 4 lines on unlimited welcome. Additional terms apply. See Verizon.com for details.
It's 2026, and if you're still paying rent without Bilt, it's time for a change. Bilt is a loyalty program for renters that rewards you for your biggest monthly expense, rent. I don't like paying rent, and I bet you don't either. But Bilt makes it feel a little better. Bilt is the loyalty program for renters that rewards you monthly with points and exclusive benefits in your neighborhood. Let me explain. With Built, every rent payment earns you points that can be used towards flights, hotels, Lyft rides, Amazon.com purchases, and so much more. And here's something I'm really excited about. Starting in February, Built members can earn points on mortgage payments for the first time. Soon, you'll be able to get rewarded wherever you live and unlock exclusive benefits with more than 45,000 restaurants, fitness studios, pharmacies, and other neighborhood partners. Personally, I'd use my Built points for travel. Turning rent into flights feels like a win. It's simple. Paying rent is better with Built. And soon, owning a home will be better with Built too. Earn rewards and get something back wherever you live. Join the loyalty program for renters at joinbuilt.com/ACAST. That's JOINBILT.com/ACAST. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now. You call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
In a world where January is supposed to be boring, one staple of the holidays refuses to end. The great deals at Verizon. The joy just keeps on coming. Right now, you can save on 4 new phones and 4 lines. Critics agree it's the deal that keeps on giving. Come into Verizon and save on 4 new phones and 4 lines on unlimited welcome. Additional terms apply. See Verizon.com for details.
Youth mental health is a complex challenge that requires comprehensive solutions. We must strengthen after-school programs. We must make digital literacy tools available in our schools. We must work with mental health professionals to support children. And we must empower mentors, educators, and parents to keep kids happy. Learn more about our commitment to finding lasting solutions at empowerourfuturecoalition.com/solutions. Paid for by the Coalition to Empower Our Future.